If you want to see more content like this, please consider subscribing to codingwithminmer.com. We coded the website ourselves, put lots of love into it. Oh, and frogs, many of them. Check it out. A subscription is cheaper than you think, and there are so many exclusive videos, one of which is the very much requested design status search. We have way more to come. That's it. Bye. Hey y'all, and welcome back to Coding with Minmer. On today's agenda, we're going to tackle a very interesting LeetCode problem, one that you might get asked at big tech companies. Almost exactly, perhaps. We'll solve this, and then in the following video, go over the two variants, each one progressing harder and harder in difficulty. Okay, let's do it. This one is called the TALLY service, and the TALLY service is a real-time counter service used at Minmer headquarters. Design a simplified version of TALLY service. It should support two functions, bump and query. Query returns the total number of times that bump was called in the last hour with a granularity of 1 minute. A helper function, getCurrentTimestamp, can be provided to give the current time in integers, accurate to the second. That's very important. You can assume that bump and query will be called in the same process, and that the system time is monotonic, i.e., it will never go backwards. I'm sure that made sense, but let's make sure we fully understand the problem at hand. Given this example, we're given a sequence of function invocations, either of which is a call to bump, in which we tally, like you did in school, or a call to query, in which we retrieve the total number of bumps or tallies within the last hour. To kick things off, we have a function call at 6 in the morning. Hopefully not because of on-call, for a function call of bump, so we tally once. Secondly, we have another bump at 6:30 a.m., so we'll tally yet again. Finally, something interesting, we query at 7:15. Okay, so the question posed here is, within the past hour, including the 60th minute, mind you, how many times did we bump? How many tallies do we have? Well, an hour before 7:15 is 6:15, so it's more accurately like this. So we'll count anything from 6:15 to 7:15. Clearly, there's only the one bump, the one tally. We exclude the first bump because it's since expired. Therefore, query will have a return value of 1, and that's what we ultimately return. Nice. That's the premise of it. Let's go through the rest of the workflow. Next up, we have, at the same time, 7:15, another bump. So we bump, and we bump. But after that, we have another query at 7:22 a.m. What is 1 hour ago from 7:22? That would be 6:22, approximately right here. We can start from the beginning and count how many bumps there were. Here's one, here's another, here's a third. Therefore, we're going to return 3. A tally of 3 is our answer. Now, just as a quick aside and also a useful note, we don't call bump or query with the times themselves. These functions have no parameters, as you can see here. As to how to get the current time, apparently it's provided for us. It's presumably some inbuilt function that we can call in our code at any given time. Okay, so moving on, 7:30, we query. From 6:30, we have 1, 2, 3 bumps. The thing to note here is that it includes 6:30 at the exact 60th minute ago. Those count. We don't want off by 1 errors. Those are the bane of our existence. Afterwards, 8:10. How many bumps were there? Within the last hour, there's 1, 2, so we get the 2. At 3 p.m., many hours later, we also query, but obviously there's nothing between 2 p.m. and 3 p.m. Therefore, we'd realistically return 0. And lastly, at 5:15 p.m., we end the day with a bump, therefore we tally. Alright, so overall, not so bad. Let's go over another example, but programmatically. And along the way, we'll use our intuition to figure out how to solve this. Here is our timeline, in which time flows forward, of course. And if you really want to know, all of these times are in the PM. We also have functions alongside each point in time. All right, for immersion, let's remove the future times and inspect them one by one, as if we truly have a real-time counter service. With that, let's start going over this example. So at 1:01 p.m., we bump. And as we did before, we'll visualize it with a tally. At 1:02, we bump a second time. At 1:10 p.m., we query. Easy, we return 2. The 1:01 bump and the 1:02 bump. Now, this is still very abstract to me. How do we materialize these times? How do we make this concrete in such a way that us programmers can reason about it? Well, to do so, we need some sort of representation of this counter service, and specifically of each point in time. One of the simplest data structures would be a list, right? For one, it's ordered in nature, and so is time. It's chronological. Okay, so in retrospect, this means we'll append a node, we'll call it, with the time slot to our list. When the bump method is called at 1:02, we'll append this snapshot in time, to our list of timestamps. Here's the first node, here's the second node. Sweet, now we're ready to address the way in which we will query. Think of this kind of like a subproblem. We have to somehow iterate over our nodes and accumulate the number of bumps within the last hour. All right, so if we call get current timestamp, we get the 1:10 p.m. Great. We should minus 1 hour from this to get what, 12:10? And with this, we know the cutoff. From here, we know to iterate and to count 1 tally and then 2 tallies. We return 2 tallies, and that's our return value. It's intuitive to run a for loop and iterate over our nodes. However, let's codify this just a little bit more and go over everything we just did and find the code equivalent. Turns out when we call the get current timestamp, I must remind you, we're given the time of 1:10 p.m. in seconds. Let's do the quick math. Breaking apart this time, the 1 in the 1 p.m. equates to the 13th hour. Likewise, the minute is just minutes. We have 10 minutes. Let's do some dimensional analysis. In 1 hour, how many seconds are there? 3,600. These cancel out, and you get, and I pre-calculated this before, 46,800 seconds. You want to add that with 10 minutes in seconds. Okay, so how many seconds are in 1 minute? Easy, that's 60. These metrics cancel. You get 600 seconds. You add them together. What do you get? 47,400 seconds. That's what you get from the method. Now, 1 hour before this would be 43,800 seconds. We can simply run a for loop and on each node, check if the node's time, in seconds, mind you, is equal or greater to our threshold, our cutoff of 43,800 seconds. If so, we can increment some sort of integer variable or something, ultimately to get 2. Sounds easy enough. But to fasten this walkthrough, I'll normalize the time metric in terms of minutes, not seconds. And as to why, it's because seconds are a bit hard to reason with. The numbers get too big for brain. And so in other words, we'll divide these numbers that we get back from the built-in function by 60 to get the metric in minutes in the code. Okay, nice detour. Let's move on. We bump, so we call the get current timestamp method, get in seconds, but we choose to convert to minutes. I'm not going to rewrite it in minutes here. I'll just leave it as is visually. We create a new node with this time in minutes and append it to our list. Afterwards, we have a call to query. We'll get current timestamp, convert to minutes, and once we have that, we minus 60 to get a point in time 60 minutes ago. That would be right around here for 12:30. Then we iterate from the very beginning, and on the first node, its time is indeed within the last hour. So we count 1 somewhere, we iterate, and on the second node, we're also within the last hour, we count 2. Skip the query, because we don't actually create nodes when we query, only when we bump. We move on and increment our integer to 3, because 1:15 is greater or equal to the 12:30 p.m. Our loop then stops there, and we happily return 3. Fantastic. Next up, we have 205. You know what? Let's make this a bit more interesting. Let's make this a query. So going through the workflow, what's 1 hour before 205? That's 105 right here. We can start our iteration. We don't count this because it's prior to our cutoff. Same here. So we only have the 1, turns out. These have expired. We exclude those. Ultimately, we return the 1. Oh, and I forgot. 130's time of query is 3. Okay, moving on. We bump. That's easy. We bump. That's easy. And we bump. We have one last query, and this is where things get very, very interesting. Our logic still works as normal. We traveled back in time 1 hour ago. That would be 2:04 p.m. We then loop left to right and count all the bump nodes we appended whose times are 2:04 p.m. or later. We get these 3, and we call it a day. Although that logic is sound and it does work, we could still be a bit more performant. Note that we had the 3 bump invocations within the same minute, 08. And yes, that can happen. And yes, creating a new object called node in memory for all 3 is times 3 the amount of RAM that we don't have to consume. As an optimization, and your interviewer is looking for this epiphany, you can bucket each node to scope 1-minute intervals. Any bump called within the same granularity can go into the same node. Okay, so what does that mean programmatically? This means when we encounter the second bump here at 2:08, we can make a smarty pants check. If the lastmost node's time in minutes, remember, is the same as the current time in minutes, then we can increment a brand new field inside our node class representation, perhaps called count. We do the same exact thing when we encounter the third bump at 2:08. We increase the count field by 1. And let's just be very visually clear here. These are the nodes that we've actually instantiated thus far. This one, and this one. So 4 in total. These do not count. And with this, we ended up looping 2 iterations less. Not the optimal time save, but as you can imagine, the client can spam hundreds of thousands of bump calls within the same minute. Not sure why, but whatever. Anywho, we return 3 for the 304 query, and we are done. That said, I can't help but notice another inefficiency. Just as we can call bump a billion times in a minute, we can also call query an indefinite number of times as well. If we had 5 more 3:04 p.m. calls, then that's 5 times big O(n), where n is the number of nodes in our list. That would be very slow if our list contained, say, millions of nodes. I have a thought to remedy this. Instead of iterating left to right, why not right to left, backwards in time? Let's examine this idea with the 304 query. Anytime we query, we know exactly when 60 minutes in the past is, right? What's the point in iterating any of the nodes prior? Therefore, we can keep iterating backwards until we pass this threshold. Okay, so on the first iteration, we have this node. Its time took place after 2:04 p.m., the start time. So no questions asked, we increase our magical integer variable, not by 1, not by 2, but 3 times. Remember, we aggregated these nodes into 1-minute intervals. On the next iteration, we've actually passed the point of 2:04 p.m. 1:15 p.m. is indeed earlier, so we break out of our loop. We have our answer, and note that we literally only iterated half the nodes we had before. Very nice. So what is the time complexity, you ask? Well, for bump, the complexity on average would be big O1 and big On in the worst case. We're appending to a list after all. For a query, since there can only be 60 nodes that we traverse at most, and that's thanks to our backwards for loop logic as well as bucketing all nodes into 1-minute intervals, our time complexity is relatively constant. The space complexity can be infinite actually. We'll have nodes persisted every time we called bump, or at least the ones that don't fall in the same minute bucket, forever and always. We'll address this and other time complexity concerns in the subsequent videos. But for the naive solution, this is honestly good enough. Okay, let's look at one teeny weeny edge case. Okay, quite a simple example, but effective. So what is the edge case here? Well, let's see. We get the current timestamp from 7, convert to minutes, and then check the previously appended node's time to know whether to consolidate the current tally or not. I kind of glossed over it, but there lies the problem. There is no previously appended node. We'd peek into the node field of an object that just doesn't exist. It's non-existent. And whenever we do that, we get an out-of-bounds error, some out-of-range error. Easy enough to fix. We just enhance our existing if statements, and that is it. We're ready to dive into the implementation. See you there. Okay, so as you can see, we have two constants that are helpers, seconds in minutes and minutes in hour. Both are 60, but the naming just makes it a bit more readable. We have our node class, which we determined should have two fields. Let's call it time minute, which is the node's time in minutes, and the count. Remember, we're bucketing these tallies. Next up, we're given a skeleton of a constructor and the familiar bump and query. Okay, so this injected timestamp provider, and make sure you ask your interviewer, is just a callable function whose variable name is getCurrentTimestamp. We'll just save this to our class. Now we also want our list of nodes of type list of node. We'll default it to empty. Moving on, let's implement bump. The first thing we'll do is get current timestamp. Call it like a function. We get back current time in seconds, a bit verbose, but whatever, it does the job for me. Let's convert this to current minutes, just because it's a bit easier to reason with. So current time in seconds divided by seconds in minutes. Next up, we have an if statement. If the lastmost node, and specifically its time in minutes, is equal to the current minute in time, then we can bucket our nodes. We don't have to create a new one. We can just increment the count like so. But hold on, what if you bump and there's no prior node? Therefore, you add this check to be a bit safe. We don't want out of bounds errors. Otherwise, if we're given a node with a completely different minute, we can create that node with a time minute of the current minute and a count of 1 and append it to our list like so. Lastly, let's implement query. On any query, we'll do the same thing. We'll get current time stamp, call it like a function. What we get back is current time in seconds. Let's be concise and clear about that. And just like before, we'll convert it to minutes. So current time in seconds, seconds in minutes. Okay, this is where the logic diverges a little bit. We need the start time, or in other words, the cutoff, the threshold, whatever I said in the walkthrough. This is equal to current minute minus minutes in hour, which is the 60. Now we'll loop over our nodes from right to left, but before that, let's have an integer variable, perhaps called total. Initialize to 0. Let's return it before I forget, because I definitely will. And let's loop backwards. For I in range of length of self nodes, up by 1, going backwards, but they have to be negative. We have to make sure to not count nodes prior to this start time. In other words, if self nodes at I that we're currently on, its time minute is less than the start time, then we'll simply break. Otherwise, we'll happily add to the total that count, which could be more than 1, by the way. Sweet, that is it. Please buy a Minmer subscription on our website for premium content to the other subsequent following videos. I assure you it will be helpful. Good luck on your interviews.